Well, hey, hello, and how are you, everybody? Dom Tibbetts, Matt Bove here, following the Buffalo Bills 38-0 loss against the Chicago Bears in the second preseason game. Matt, that sounds like you and I are like back in middle school and we're watching this team in the drought years, like all over again. That kind of lopsided score. Tough day for the Bills. Really just couldn't get it going anywhere. So at least the discussion is like, well, where do you even start with this team? What struggles stand out to you the most? Well, I'll let you kind of start this one. Just where do you go? What's the first thing that jumps to your mind and just why things went off the tracks tonight?
Well, the offense was really bad. The defense was really bad. They did not execute well. They did not look good. And I'm really not that concerned. Is kind of where I'm at with this game, with the preseason in general. You would much prefer them to look good and play better and make open field tackles and not get constantly beat. But I don't necessarily think there's a correlation between what we saw and what spills into the season. Let me remind everybody, last year, the Bills lost in the preseason to the Chicago Bears 33-6.
That they did. And I said Caleb Williams, I went, wow, this guy is going to be really good.
So that does not mean you just can pass off everything, because I do think, I like what Greg Olsen said a couple of times on the broadcast. While the result doesn't have any significance, the game still matters, especially for individual players. The problem for the Bills is there weren't a lot of very good individual performances, which of course leads to the fact that it was 38-0, and it would have been 45-0 if the Bears didn't want to rub a little extra salt in the wound.
Because this is going to be kind of I won't say doom or gloom, but we're going to touch on some negatives just because it is
Probably
about
more
individual.
Negatives,
It's about individual performances. You're 100% right. I agree with what Greg Olsen said too on air. I think like the big standout, and it wasn't even much, but like Tyrell Shavers helped this case for sure too. I think he was kind of one of the lone bright spots in there. I think he has another reception too, if I'm correct. If he doesn't, one of the guys, I think it was a defensive pass interference on him, but it looked like he had his defender beat there on a step. I mean, he has the lone little bright spot in there. I thought Michael Hoyt's sack at the end was nice. I think I tweeted out that there was a really funny Limu Emu commercial on the TV feed. Now, I never get to watch. It feels weird since the last time I've been able to like watch a Bills game on TV when we're not down in the field, but those were just kind of the early things on a bright spot. I think that stood out to me negatively, like right off the rip. The safeties on that first drive with Caleb Williams.
Brutal.
Oh my God. I felt like I was watching the first, like when you watch The Longest Yard and you watch that team in their first like little scrimmage, like that's what I thought I was watching. Just that defense got torched. Cole Bishop, Damar Hamlin on an island, just not looking the part whatsoever.
Yeah. Olamide Zaccheaus, I believe is his name. He beat Cole Bishop off the line on the touchdown, and then Damar Hamlin was the last line of defense and took a really bad angle and just kind of whiffed, and then they walked into the end zone for the first touchdown. And it's been my biggest concern as far as an entire position going into the season, and now I don't feel any better about it. Now, Cole Bishop basically just came back from injury, so it's to be expected that there's going to be some rust. But I also just haven't seen anything to give me the confidence that he can step into this role that we've already just kind of wrote his name into. Like, we are all assuming that Cole Bishop is going to be the starting safety alongside Taylor Rapp. He was a second-round pick. He gets banged up last year, could never really find a spot on this team or find a spot on the actual, field. Now, I don't know what to expect from him because if what we saw, the sample size we saw in this game, while saying that it doesn't completely matter, was not a good first impression for this season. And the first impression last year wasn't great either. So the name everybody's going to be talking about is Justin Simmons, who's not even on the Bills. He's just a free agent. And everybody's going to be like, hey, should they go out and sign him? And I'm certainly willing to listen to that conversation. But are you just giving up on a second-round pick? You're not signing Justin Simmons to be some sort of depth player. He's playing. So then are you just essentially giving up on Cole Bishop's career?
Right. I don't think Brandon Beane does that.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think they have to live with it in this fact. I think they have to get Cole Bishop up to speed. I also just think it's like it's the same case you can make when you talk about wide receivers with Curtis Samuel. I mean, sometimes just the best thing a guy can have, especially in that young part of your career, is just availability, being able to be on the field. I mean, it was clear tonight that Cole Bishop has been banged up and has been not getting the same amount of live game reps, that missed out in the first preseason game, a guy that looks like he has missed a lot of significant time during training camp, not being able to run out with the first team defense. That is a guy who very clearly hasn't been able to do all that. And that showed tonight. I mean, to your point, like I go back to that game. It was the Texans game last year, like where it was a really, like, you got beat on that
Nico Collins
that
deep touchdown
ball. Yeah. The Nico Collins ball. And like that's going to happen. So like, I also wondered too, it's like, okay, if Curtis Samuel comes back, like that could be, we could be having the same conversation. The Bills have to commit to Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp. It is funny though. You do mention that, like, oh, the name's just written in. Thing is though, who's pushing him out? There's nobody there.
That's the problem, because
that's a big problem. There's nothing pushing Cole Bishop out of that spot.
The only like Damar Hamlin, I don't think is going to win the job, and I don't even know if it's a foregone conclusion that Damar Hamlin is on the 53-man roster. Like, I think that he right now is their third safety. Jordan Hancock had a couple nice plays in this game, but is he ready to take on a bigger role? We didn't even know what position he was going to be playing a month ago, and now he kind of steps into the safety position, had some nice open field tackles in this game. That's a good sign, but then he leaves with a shoulder injury, so we don't even know what the status of the shoulder injury is. They brought in Derek Forrest in the offseason. He has played in the NFL. He was playing at the end of this game, so I don't really think that the plans for him are substantial. The safety position is the weakest position on the entire team. Like, Cam Lewis could probably use some snaps there, but I don't know how great you would feel about that. I don't think Bills fans would feel very good about Damar Hamlin out there again. If he's a backup, then sure. Jordan Hancock is just kind of the promise of the unknown, because you don't know what's there.
But then he goes out with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, tonight, so. It is, for me, not even a question that it is the most concerning position on this roster, because the only one you know is going to start is still not an elite player. Taylor Rapp is, I think, good, serviceable, probably a little bit better than that. But if that's the most solidified guy you have there,
Raggy,
right? Like, that's a little like, because then you could easily make the argument, well, why aren't you saying this about cornerback? We don't know what Tre'Davious White's going to be. Well, because one of the cornerbacks is Christian Benford, and he's awesome, and you used a first-round pick on Max Hairston, so it feels like you've got a little bit more of an insurance policy behind Tre'Davious White. At safety, like, what is your insurance policy if Taylor Rapp gets hurt? Like, I don't know what you're going to do. It's going to be bad.
Well, it's because it's funny you brought up cornerbacks too, because one of my notes, I was like, I wrote Dane Jackson does not have it. But then I'm like, you have to remind yourself, like I did a couple times this game, it's like, oh, he's out there because that backups are out there. Like, again, you have Christian Benford. You're banking on Max Harrison being good when he comes back and he's recovered. You don't know what Trey White is. There's significantly more depth to work with, or at least serviceable parts, I think, in the cornerback room that, to your point, makes the linebacker or makes the safety room, I think, much more of a concern. And when you're talking about positions in the secondary too, I mean, if you're an opposing offense, and like, credit to Ben Johnson, we saw him last year's OC with the Lions and what that looks like against the Bills, right? Like, but you go against any one of these teams that have good offenses this year, what's the first thing an offensive coordinator is going to look at? How to exploit the Bills safeties. And it's going to be that every single game. And I almost think you're going to get to the point, Matt, where it's like, stop us. Do something where you can stop us from trying to beat you over the top.
The only thing is going to be, can the pass rush get home? They certainly did not get home in this game. Nobody on the defensive line, besides that like couple snaps from Michael Hoyt.
The late Michael Hoyt play, right? Yeah.
So you need to get to the quarterback fast, because if you do, then theoretically your safeties cannot be taken advantage of as much as they could be when you have a clean pocket. But that's putting a lot of faith into the Bills' defensive line. I like Greg Rousseau. I think Joey Bosa is a big question mark with a lot of upside, but can he stay healthy? Can he prove that he can play a full season? I think the interior defensive line, I still have a lot of questions about. And then I didn't really love what I saw from any of the rookies in this game. Like, if they were getting beat by the starters from the Bears, then you'd go, okay, like, yeah, growing pains, a lot to learn. But like TJ Sanders and Deion Walker played a lot in this game against a lot of backups and really didn't see much from them or from Landon Jackson. Like, that's all across the board. Like, it was just a very forgettable day for the Bills rookie class.
Yeah, and two, just because, we just did, a little hometown story. I thought the linebackers had a rough day. I thought it was a tough day for Joe Andreessen.
It's a really tough day for Joe Andreessen.
Yeah.
Like, maybe struggled more than any other player.
in zone pass coverage, I mean, the Bears were just attacking him, and like tight end, whether it was Cole Kmet or the new guy that the Bears had drafted there, like they were just having their way with Joe Andreessen. And, again, he's a backup, very serviceable. And there's a lot of things I think Joe Andreessen does well, but again, opposing, let's just say, because the Bills are not unfamiliar with injuries in the linebacker room. Let's just say you're down the line, there's a Terrell Bernard or Matt Milano injury, and all of a sudden you're trotting Dorian Williams with Joe Andreessen out. It's the same thing. An offensive coordinator is going to go, that's how we go beat this team.
Well, now I think too, because I do think the struggles for Joe Andreessen do have a domino effect on this team. I think that Shaq Thompson, even though he really hasn't been around very much, now has a much clearer path to making this roster just because they can trust him. I don't think this team would feel very comfortable if Joe Andreessen was out there getting defensive snaps. I think Joe Andreessen is on this team to probably be the fifth linebacker and be a special teams contributor. I think now, you can go back, like, is it Ulofoshio? Is it somebody else who's not in the system? Like, it feels like it's going to be Shaq Thompson because he knows the defense. He knows Sean McDermott. He's got a lot of experience. I mean, besides their starters, there's not a lot of experience in that room. Like, Dorian Williams has been in the league for a couple of years, but hasn't played a ton. I mean, played probably a lot more than we expected him to when they drafted him because of the Milano injuries.
Right.
It's not like he's played a ton. And then, obviously, the same thing we're talking about with Joe Andreessen. So, yeah, I think those struggles from Andreessen leave a door open for a guy like Shaq Thompson to just be on this team.
For sure. Matt, we've been talking a lot about defense. Let's talk about the offense a little bit since we're getting there.
Because that was so much better, right?
Yeah, I mean, among the struggles, I mean, you start with the catalyst of an offense, the quarterback. Tough day for Mike White. I think Mitch Trubisky, I think you and I said it the last time we had a wrap talk on Wednesday. Mitch, it was his job to lose. Mike White had to come in with some pretty sensational performances. It's done. Mitch Trubisky, backup quarterback. I think that competition is over. Really rough day for Mike White. Just really couldn't get anything going. And I think that had a snowball effect. There's nothing in the run game, much less prevalent than you saw last week against the Giants. And then aside from Tyrell Shavers, like it hurts me to say it, hand up, it hurts because this guy believed him. Not a great day from a guy like Elijah Moore.
I don't know if Elijah Moore is going to make the team. Like, seriously, like at this point, because if it's going to come down to Shavers or Moore, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I think Shavers has probably done enough to make the team. The only thing that it's like really concerning is we're talking about how Shavers improved his chances of making this team on a day when he had 2 catches. But it just goes to show how little everybody else did. Like, I think Elijah Moore had 2 legitimate drops in this game. Not like, those were tough catches. 2 very legitimate drops. One catch on 4 targets for 5 yards. It's an abysmal stat line. I don't care who's throwing you the ball. But then that comes to the Curtis Samuel thing of just we don't know when he's going to be back, what he's going to look like. Is he the leader in the – because in my head, I lump those 3 players together as kind of fighting for 2 spots. Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, and Tyrell Shavers. That's assuming they keep 5 receivers. If they keep 6 receivers, then I think all of them make the team.
Right.
But if they only keep 5, it's 2 of those 3. I think the leader in the clubhouse of the 3 might be Shavers and Samuel. Samuel, just from not even being on the field, can't hurt his cause, can't hurt his stock.
Yeah, Bills are a little bit more
screwing up.
A little bit more financially committed, I think, to Curtis Samuel as well. But I mean, again, like if you had to make that snap of the finger decision right now, Tyrell Shavers, I think, has earned a spot. I actually would be shocked if he doesn't get a 53-man roster spot. I don't know what more the Bills need to see from him. And that's coming from a guy who had 2 receptions today. But you make that decision. I think they take the chance on Tyrell Shavers because you're maybe not getting him back on the practice squad if you don't get him to the 53-man. And then, you're just more financially locked in to Curtis Samuel than you are Elijah Moore. And that's just, you had an opportunity to go out and show yourself, prove it a little bit today. I thought Elijah Moore definitely came up short. Mike White came up short. Just an all around really, really tough day for the offense and for the defense. I mean, you could poor poor Caden Davis had to go take a 56-yard field goal. The guy couldn't even get there. I saw Reed Ferguson get juked out of his shoes on a punt return. Like it just continues on all three facets of the game. But.
Yeah, and it is important. Like we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. The only starters that played in this game for the Bills, and we're using starters here with quotes because one of them was Cole Bishop. We think he's a starter. We don't know he's a starter. And then Josh Palmer on offense. I think he was out there for the first series and then he was done. Right. So these were all backups. But the reason, one of the reasons the Bills have been good, the biggest reason, of course, is Josh Allen. Very, very good player, as you know by now. But a lot of people have said that the Bills have one of the best rosters in the NFL from like 20 to 50. Like it's very deep. They can go deep into the roster. They can rotate a lot of guys. It kind of insulates them from the injuries that pop up. I didn't see that today at all. The backups really left me concerned. And it's easy to say, well, you're not going to see most of these guys play. You're right. But if the injuries pop up, you would feel much better if these guys looked good than looked really, really bad. Because today, most of them looked really, really bad. So if it's just the starters, if it's just Josh Allen, if the Bills stay really, really healthy, they're going to be a really good football team. Even if they get banged up a little bit, as long as Josh Allen's around, they'll probably still be a really good football team.
Of course.
But I don't think we can just completely write off this day. I don't think it matters a ton. But I don't think we can say it doesn't matter at all. This is a waste of time. I'm like, we would all feel better about this team's chances if they looked better on Sunday night than they ultimately did.
It's not even just a win or lose. It's about those individual performances. Yeah. Like that's what it all boils down to. And it's like that question you asked McDermott that I go back to. That's like, he doesn't game plan that much. There's not nearly as much game planning for an opponent in a preseason game because it's about those individual performances. But it's the difference of like the Bills lose tonight 38-31 or like they did against the Giants where you got to see some of that star shining mentality or that potential for some of these bubble guys. You didn't see that tonight. And that part you can be concerned. You can say it's a preseason game. Let's not bug out over preseason because Josh Allen isn't in there and he's going to help this offense be better, or vice versa. If you have your starters on defense and your whole defensive line and Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano, you can make that argument, but you can also make the argument too that like things aren't looking good behind your top 22 guys. There are some big question marks and there are some holes that are going to need to be filled. And you just don't know how you're going to do that because it seems like the Bills really have their depth pieces sort of figured out to the point where like, okay, you know what you're getting. It's like, I go back to like Dane Jackson's a perfect example. Like, what you're getting with a guy like Dane Jackson. There's just to me, it feels like there's a lot of those guys on this roster where you know what you're getting. And it's like, man, the ceiling is pretty mid on a lot of these guys behind the first 22.
I think the most disheartening or concerning thing for me for this game comes down to two things. One of them being the play of Cole Bishop, just because there are expectations surrounding him. Two, being the play of your rookie defensive lineman, especially because of the suspensions coming up to Ogunjobi and Hoyt of like, okay, like you're going to need, I haven't seen really anything from Landon Jackson over the course of the last month that makes me feel like, oh, he can be a solid rotational piece that can come in and play a couple snaps. Like, I don't even know if he's going to be active on game days.
That's a third-round pick, just in case.
That's what I mean. Like,
that's a third-round pick.
So you can say that about a third-round pick this year. You can say that about Dwayne Carter, a third-round pick last year, wondering, like, what he's playing in the fourth quarter in the second preseason game, and you're like, that's interesting. Like, is he even guaranteed to be on this roster? So you've got those questions with players like that. TJ Sanders, I think, has looked good at times during this preseason, but didn't really see much out of him today. I know that his role when he's on the field is going to be, as Ed Oliver's primary backup or playing together with him. And he's going to have a lot more favorable matchups if he's next to Ed Oliver than he is when he's next to like Deion Walker, but still would have liked to see him have a more dominant performance. And then Deion Walker is huge. But I'm watching the game and I'm paying attention to the defensive line. And he's getting pushed around a little bit. And I'm like, I know that's not his
bullied. Straight bullied in the first quarter. No effect.
So it's like, these are the things that leave you wondering a little bit. But 33-6, they lose last year to the Bears. So I would be so hypocritical for me to be like, the sky is falling, when last year I didn't feel that way at all. And I don't feel that way. It's just it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. especially because they didn't look very good in the first preseason game either.
No, again, and it goes back to what we've said. You can have the preseason narrative line where it's, hey, it's a preseason. Josh Allen didn't play. Let's move on. Doesn't really matter. And you can also have the other side where it's like there are concerns and there are depth pieces and guys you need to see more of that you didn't. Both things can be true. And that's it. But now we move on, Matt, to our third preseason game, the final preseason game coming up on Saturday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So,
yeah,
any early just thoughts on that? I mean, we got probably a 2-3 day, practice week here because they're not going to joint practice. Anything just you're looking at?
I mean, it's
this week.
Just it feels like the Bills are bucking the trend or changing things up a little bit on how they've approached the starters and then specifically Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen has always played in a preseason game, and I don't anticipate him to play in the final preseason game if he didn't play in one of the first two.
Why at that point? Yeah.
Right. So that's interesting. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Maybe you could maybe a series, like maybe just to get some.
If you're going to do that, if you're going to do that, I guess
why wouldn't you have done it this game? Right.
That's what I mean. If you're going to, so that's my hold up hiccup there. Like in the last year's preseason game, I think Ben DiNucci started a quarterback for the Bills. So I know they had some injuries also. So I just don't anticipate Josh Allen's going to play. And, if Josh isn't going to play, do they let Mitch get a series or two with starters, or do they just rest all of their starters like they did in this game? Maybe this game was so bad that they play their starters for a series or two just to see what they can go out there and do. So I'm not completely writing it off. I just do think that, there's a very strong chance we don't see Josh Allen throw a pass in the preseason this year, which would be different than what has happened in years past.
There's a lot of doubts and a lot of questions about how this team would look last year, Matt. But then look, they rallied off for 13 wins. And probably, I always say too, when you come back and you talk about last year's team, probably could have won 14 had they played their actual starters the entire game against, New England at the end of the year. Right. But, so I think at least a Josh Allen-led offense has given people the benefit of the doubt that you have to at least trust in what Bean or McDermott are trying to chef up here in terms of how they're going to approach this team getting ready. Because, I think you tweeted it. Are we, 2 weeks or 3 weeks away from Sunday night?
3 weeks from tonight. 3 weeks. Yeah,
3
we're recording
weeks,
this on Sunday night. The thing with what you're just saying, I'm really not concerned about the offense. I think that they'll figure it out. They've got a very good offensive line. They've got the MVP at quarterback, a very good running back, a player who I like in Khalil Shakir, somebody who I think has had a strong summer in Keon Coleman, or, a relatively strong summer, and then a couple other complementary pieces. I'm not that concerned about the offense. I don't need to see them on the field. I am still, not very concerned, but concerned with the defense because I have so many more questions on that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. There's still I wouldn't call it an identity crisis, but I would, to your point, I think there's very much a lot left to be desired, still need to see something. And that could all, if you saw these guys, the actual starters, you saw Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa, maybe a little bit more, you could actually get a feel for how dynamic is this defensive end combo, right? How is that Oliver taking the next step? What does Daquan Jones still have left in the tank? What does the real Bernard Milano combo look like? Is it going to be as good as maybe we think it is? Because I think those guys, especially Matt Milano, has had a really good summer and a really good training camp. Just haven't gotten to see him. So yeah, that's
I learned tonight? I'm not built to stay up late without coffee assisting me. But I didn't want the coffee to assist me because I was I don't want to. Well, see, I get it. I would feel better if I had it. But then I would think almost not even, I think subconsciously I would have a harder time falling asleep if I had the coffee, just like the placebo of, I don't think caffeine affects me that much. So I don't really think it would do too much.
We drink too much coffee. Caffeine don't touch us.
It shouldn't, but I feel now I'm dragging. And when you're there and you work until 1, 2 in the morning, oh my God, I'm yawning. This is the worst time ever.
Not only normally he yawns when I talk, but now Matt Bove is yawning when Matt Bove is talking.
I'm making myself yawn. So yeah, I just feel when you're there, the adrenaline of everything that's going on, it's okay, you can work till 1, 2 in the morning and get 3 hours of sleep and wake up and do it all again the next day. Right now, I'm when we're done, I'm going to bed. And
I
I'm
get that.
excited. I'm
I-
so excited.
I'm pumped. As soon as I get out of this, I'm driving home and doing the same thing. The one thing I learned tonight too was my final thought. The Bills play an egregiously long preseason games. That game once again just went for too long, too many long reviews. Pretty sick of that. So if the NFL wants to initiate a running clock rule in the second half of preseason games, you're never going to hear me lobby against support for that. So, all right, preseason game number 2 in the books. Done, finito. This week, team practices in Orchard Park. Then preseason game, the finale, number 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's coming up on Saturday. From Apple Bay, I'm Don Tiddits. We'll talk to you guys soon.